My introduction to financial independence did not go as planned. In this video, I'm going to share my intro to FI and the lessons that I learned from a very difficult time in my life. I hope this video can inspire you on your journey to financial independence. Let's get into it. My husband introduced me to the concept of financial independence, and my intro came in the form of a book. We did a book exchange with me offering him a book to read and him introducing me to Your Money or Your Life. Suffice it to say that this book changed my life. I actually created another video about this transformation, and I'll drop a link to that video in the description below if you want to learn more and read this book yourself. This book introduced me to the idea that retirement is a number, not an age. Up until this point in my life, I had just assumed that I would work for 35 to 40 years until I someday retired. The authors explain that you can stop working once you have enough investment income that exceeds your living expenses. Once you reach this crossover point, when your investment income exceeds your expenses, you can retire and never work another day in your life. This was my light bulb moment. The first time that I actually understood the why behind personal finance. It was not about extra dollars saved or a larger bank account, but about freedom and flexibility. Between this book and my husband introducing me to concepts from the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early, I began to see the light at the end of the very dark tunnel I was in. I had a way out. The problem was that even with doing many things right and prioritizing savings from an early age, early retirement was still 10 years away. 10 more years until I could quit and never work again. But 10 more years in this toxic job? Could I do it? No. I couldn't. 10 more years doing what I was doing was way too long. I finally admitted this to myself, but before I could do anything about it, my body had other plans. I started experiencing severe anxiety and panic attacks, forcing me to take a 6-month medical leave before I eventually quit my job. For someone who is committing to pursue financial independence, this is not how you expect the story to begin. Usually, the beginning of a journey toward FI starts with a flurry of excitement, where you focus on optimizing and decreasing your expenses, making strategic cuts to align your values to your spending. Or sometimes it begins with a focus on increasing your income so you can grow the gap between your income and expenses so that you can save and invest more money, buying yourself more future freedom and flexibility. But this was not the beginning of my story. Instead, I took 6 months of a medical leave, thankfully still earning about 60% of my normal salary due to short and long-term disability plans. I eventually quit that job instead of returning and went back to work part-time, earning significantly less than I was making before. This period of time was extremely difficult, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And yet at the same time, this period completely transformed my journey and taught me a few important lessons that have stuck with me. I'm going to share those lessons with you right now. The first and most important lesson that I can share is that it is not worth it to stay in a toxic job, regardless of how much money you make. Life is way too short to stay in a job that makes you miserable. Regardless of where you are on your financial journey, you don't have to stay in a toxic job. Even if you need to replace your income immediately, you can find something better. The bottom line is that I urge you to please get out. Some people will tell you that everyone's life is miserable and that you should just power through it. Or some will say that a high income is worth staying in a toxic job. I had a similar mentality. I felt like I should just power through. I was working so hard to get the next promotion that I ignored all of the warning signs and kept going until my body simply couldn't handle it anymore. I don't recommend this. Please learn this lesson from my story and get out before your body gives out on you. And the second lesson is that financial freedom is incremental. When I was recovering from severe anxiety and panic attacks, and I was trying to figure out what to do next, I did a lot of research on our finances. I read a lot of books and blogs and learned a lot about financial freedom. It was at this time that I learned of a concept called Coast Financial Independence. We created a number of videos about CoastFi and highly recommend you check them out after watching this video if you aren't familiar yet with this term. You can check the description for links to a couple of my favorite videos on CoastFi. CoastFi is the point where you've saved and invested enough money that with enough time will grow to cover your expenses in retirement without contributing another dollar. This is a milestone that unlocks a lot of freedom along your path to financial independence. While some people focus solely on hitting their FI number, a point where you can stop working for the rest of your life, this isn't the only option. You can leverage the wealth that you've already accumulated along the path to financial independence. When I learned about CoastFi, I felt significantly less pressure to save and grind it out because we didn't need to save more money for our traditional retirement. Anything we saved after reaching CoastFi was extra. It would give us either more money in retirement or help us retire earlier. Once I learned about CoastFi, I felt the pressure to grind it out dissipate. I decided to go back to work part-time. Initially, I saw this as a temporary change and thought I'd increase my hours. Yet, once I realized how much our quality of life improved and the fact that we didn't need to save more money had finally sunk in, I decided not to increase my hours. On top of that, 1 year after I quit my toxic full-time job, we were looking at our spending and realized that we spent $17,000 less than the year before. This was incredibly surprising to me, so I needed to dive deeper to figure out what we were spending so much less money on. It turned out to be in 4 main categories: groceries, restaurants, travel, and general merchandise. Because I was happier and had more time and was so much less stressed, we weren't ordering out as often. I wasn't buying pre-cut vegetables or easy-to-make meals at the grocery store. And we had the time and energy to focus on understanding and using travel rewards or getting deals rather than taking the fancy, expensive trip because we deserved it. Lastly, we were buying a lot fewer random things off Amazon for that dopamine hit after a long week. After looking at this, I realized the commonalities. We spent $17,000 less in 1 year on convenience and escape because life was better. This reaffirmed my decision to continue working part-time hours, even though it meant earning less. Why would I want to increase my salary and go back to spending more? Learning about CoastFi and realizing that we were spending less money went hand in hand. For the first time in my life, I truly understood that I didn't need to work full-time. And choosing to work part-time was not jeopardizing my future finances. It was making this decision from a position of strength. This very difficult moment in our journey helped me see that financial freedom is incremental. It's not all or nothing, and I choose to buy back my time now while pursuing financial independence. If you want to learn how to utilize the incremental financial freedom that you're building along your path to FI, I encourage you to watch this video on the 5 stages of financial freedom to learn about all of the options available to you. And as always, thanks for watching and enjoy the journey.